Welcome to my solar addiction. Today's video. Best value 48-volt battery over 200 amp hours, part 3, Addendum. I can't believe you forgot the UL summary.
So after I finished my 200 amp hour best value battery on the market video, I realized, I had some assistance in realization. Someone posted that I didn't mention which ones were not UL listed. I did mention UL listing as being important for people that are in the city and that are still going to be dealing with utilities and be tied to the grid still. And if you are tied to the grid, you would definitely need to have the UL9540 certification in most areas that I know of. That might not be true for all, and I hate using all or none, so we're not going to use them here. But I also wanted to mention that there was another battery that I should have considered that I did not have in the list, and I think it's appropriate that I do a quick addendum to that video to cover both of those things. So first I'm going to start with the battery I should have mentioned, which is the new Midnite Solar MNPowerFlo 16. It's a really nice looking battery, very simple, on the front it's all white. I've got the Midnite Solar logo on the top left, and then you can see what your state of charge is right there on the front. But it's a battery which should be mentioned in this class because it is 314 amp hours. Let's go over the specs real quick, do a quick specs rundown on that battery. Well, first of all, it's $4,000. The price is $39.99, and it's 16 kilowatts or 314 amp hours. Now, per kilowatt hour, that's $249.94 per kilowatt hour and $12.74 per amp hour. So it definitely fits in this category, and it's a good bang for the buck price. The max amp discharge is 160 amps, and then the max amp charge is going to be up to 210 amps, but nominal is 160 amps, just like the max A discharge. So basically, they're telling you that they'd like you to run it around 160 amps, but it could be pushed up to 210 amps, probably for a short period of time. 8,000 cycles fits right in with the top two on my list here, which is the EG4 and the Ruxu. At least they're both are at least 8,000 cycles lifetime. And you can parallel up to max is 16 of these units together. And then there is no display other than that little battery gauge that shows you on the front how much power you have in your battery. It's just kind of a graduated little battery screen, as you can see. And then it weighs 284 pounds, which is interesting because it weighs 284 and it's the same amp hours as the Ruxu, and theirs is 320. I wonder how they saved that much weight. But it also is IP65 rated, so it can be outdoors. And the warranty is 10 years. It's not EMP hardened. It doesn't have total rapid shutdown like the EG4 does. It doesn't have, yes, it does have fire suppressor. No, it doesn't have an internal heater. So, but the important part is that it is UL9540A, which means that the unit itself meets the underwriter's laboratory specs. And it's also UL9540, which is the one that's important if you're still tied to the grid. And it's probably only with the Midnite Solar, the One, which is their new inverter that came out. And I believe that's what they're certified with. The UL9540 is the entire system. It's the inverter and the battery. It's not just one of the parts. So that certification has to be done with everything together. So I'd be willing to bet all the money in my bank account that Midnite Solar MNPowerFlo 16 is UL9540 compliant with or certified with the Midnite Solar 1 inverter. But it's also UL1973, which is an older certification, and most of the better brands are going to have that certification. But as you can see on this list, all the other batteries that I had listed, except for the GSL Energy, which is one of the others other than the top two, the four that are UL9540 compliant or certified is going to be your EG4 Power Pro all-weather wall battery, the Ruxu Lithi 2-16, the Midnite Solar MNPowerFlo 16, and the GSL Energy battery is also UL9540. Now that's probably with their inverter as well. So when you pick the battery, and if you need that UL9540 certification for you to put this system in your house because of code, you need to think about what inverter you have, okay? Because you might have to go with that inverter to match that, to get that certification with that battery, or vice versa. So you really need to think about that before you pull the trigger on your system. But all these other batteries that I mentioned, and some of them were way cheaper or a little bit cheaper, none of those have the UL1973, the UL9540A, the UL9540 Underwriters Laboratory certification, or UL certifications. So if you're tied to the grid anyway, or you have to actually meet some sort of code, we can totally eliminate all the Battery Evo batteries, the Orient Power battery, the Palmer, and the Sun Gold Power, because they don't have the UL certifications. So that's why it's important to, before you buy anything, decide what you want to do as far as, are you trying to go completely off the grid? Are you just looking for grid tie just to reduce your energy bill a little bit? If you're going with batteries, then you got to make sure that you have an inverter that can work with the batteries and that they are compliant with the code in your area. And that may vary depending on where you live. So you got to do your research. If you don't do your homework, you're probably going to make a mistake. But these batteries, I can say, based on their literature, are the ones that I would pick from as far as making a purchase and doing a system still tied to the grid as my system is. Now, there's a couple other things I want to point out on this list. I did have to change the price on the GSL Energy. The price I had was $3,500 in my previous video. And I did talk to someone who said they sourced their batteries directly from GSL Energy and didn't have a problem dealing with customs or anything like that. And they paid around $2,800. As a matter of fact, he said it was $2,786 was the price to his doorstep. And that's a pretty good price. That drops the GSL Energy price per kilowatt hour down to $272.07 or $13.93 per amp hour, which is still not cheaper than any of the three above it. Plus, you're looking at only 200 amp hours and 10.24 kilowatt hours, whereas with the Midnite Solar, if you went with that, that's 16 kilowatt hours. It's a little more expensive, but the cost per kilowatt hour is $249.94 versus $272.07. So you got to look at, make sure you're doing apples to apples. That's why it's important to go to the per kilowatt hour, per amp hour, to make sure you understand exactly what you're doing. And then the features, to me, still the top two are the ones I would look at. I did already buy the EG4 Power Pros. It's just like somebody saying, hey, do you like Apple or do you like Android? Well, if you have one or the other, if you are happy, you're gonna tell people to go with what you have, right? So I guess I am a little biased in that way because I do own the EG4 Power Pros, and for all the reasons that I mentioned before. And like I said, it hits all the yeses on the things that I think are important: the UL certifications, the EMP hardening, the total rapid shutdown, which is totally unique to EG4 and their energy storage systems, and fire suppression and internal heaters. Those having yes on all of those. Oh, plus IP65. Can't forget that. So that I could put them outside if I wanted to. So everyone's going to make their own decisions based on what is for them in their unique environment, for what their application is. But I feel that you should definitely look at these if you're considering wall batteries in the 200 to 314 amp hour or the 10.24 to 16 kilowatt hour battery range. These are the ones to look at. But remember, you got to pick the inverter to match your battery if you still need to be compliant with code for UL9540. All right? So I didn't want to make this real long, but it's a quick addendum to what I had put out before, and I thought it was necessary to make these points. I did mention the UL9540 compliance for the EG4 Power Pro with the 18 kPV on the first part of my video. I broke it up into 3 sections, and the first part was just about what my decision was as far as going with the EG4 Power Pro all-weather wall battery, which is still my favorite battery right now. But that may change my mind because, as I say, I am addicted. I'm always looking for something better. If I can find something better, I will go with something better. So glad you guys could join me again. And I'm working on a similar comparison for rack mount batteries that it should be out in a couple of days. I know I've been about a week behind on getting videos out, but life's what happens to you while you're busy making other plans, folks. So keep your batteries charged. Hope to see you soon. And if you like this video, please share it with your friends. We'd like to have as much information spread throughout the solar community as possible.
Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed our video.